What's up everyone, welcome back to Thinking Cap, and in this one it's my weekly series best FPL Captain. Last game week, we saw our double digit haul streak come to an end with Mo Salah only getting 6 points. Let's see if we can bounce back with a solid captain haul in game week 6. Thinking Cap, activate. As always, guys, we're going to begin with a review of last game week's rankings. Salah wasn't the best captain, and out of all players in this shortlist, it was actually Haaland who was the best cap. He got 9 points. Watkins matched Salah in the rankings, so he was the only correct prediction. Cole Palmer did outscore Mo Salah in the wildcard spot. Congrats if you went with the high risk, high reward cap, because it did beat our number one. On to the Game Week 6 shortlist now. The 4 candidates I'm looking at this game week for captaincy are Haaland, Salah, Palmer, and Bukayo Saka. On paper, Saka has the best fixture with Leicester at home, and Haaland has the worst, Newcastle away. Both Salah and Palmer have decent fixtures, but when we look at the underlying data from all 4 defenses, it's clear that Palmer actually does have the toughest game with Brighton. Brighton rank first in the league from set play expected goals conceded, and we do know that Palmer is on corners. They've only made one defensive error in the first 5, and they've also only conceded 5.79 XGC, which is expected goals conceded, and that makes them the toughest fixture on this shortlist. Surprisingly, Newcastle have had the worst defensive data across the first 5. It's 8.81 expected goals conceded, which is the most out of all 4 teams, and they've also made 6 defensive errors. Leicester City are a pretty bad defense. They've conceded 2.2 expected goals conceded from set plays alone, which is the second worst out of all Premier League teams so far. Saka is on corners, so this makes his routes to points pretty strong. Leicester have conceded 8.15 XGC in the first 5 games, which is only a little bit less than Newcastle. Wolves have centre back Mosquera out with a serious ligament injury, meaning that their defense will be weaker with 4th or 5th choice centre back stepping in. Despite Wolves' tougher opening fixtures, it's only 7.2 expected goals conceded, which is actually second best out of all 4 of these teams. However, they have conceded 28 shots on target. Based on this analysis, Brighton looks like the best defensive team, with Newcastle and Leicester the most targetable for goals. Moving into the rest and recovery, Erling Haaland was given leave of absence to visit his uncle's funeral in the midweek. He's had 7 days off, which is the most, tied with Cole Palmer, who's also had the whole week off. We were all surprised to see Bukayo Saka start in the EFL Cup versus Bolton. He played 70 minutes in that game. Saka is a very durable player, and maybe he needed the extra minutes for sharpness. However, more rest days is usually a positive thing. Mo Salah came on in the EFL Cup on Wednesday. He's only had 3 rest days, but he did play around 20 minutes, so he's had less midweek game time than Bukayo. Now that we've taken a look at the rest and recovery, let's look at predicted minutes. Haaland and Salah are top of predicted minutes, both at 90. Cole Palmer trails at 84 minutes predicted, and Bukayo Saka sits at 80. As he does have that UCL tie with PSG next week, I highly doubt he's going to play the whole game against Leicester. Before we dive into the kickoff analysis, let's conduct a quick risk assessment. Haaland is the highest owned player due to his electric form, and this is where the majority of FPL players will be placing their armband. If you cap Haaland, you're engaging in around 15% risk, with your chance for big gain at around 20%. Saka has the best fixture, and he's returned 6 GA in the first 5 games with no blanks. If you cap the star boy, you're engaging in around 50% risk, which is very high, but your chance for big gains is very appealing at around 75%. A Salah captain would put your risk engagement at around 60% because although he's higher owned than Saka, Salah has had a lower share of Liverpool GA compared to Saka's share of Arsenal GA, which he's been dominating. Your chances for big gain with Salah are at 85%, and that's 10% higher than Saka because historically, Salah is a very explosive player. Palmer cap offers 85% risk due to the fixture difficulty and his total ownership, but he does offer the maximum amount of gain possible with 100%. Now, let's take a look at how the players have fared in their upcoming fixture in the past. Haaland has one start away to Newcastle where he scored and registered 6 points in a 3-3 draw during his first season. Salah has started 6 times away from home against Wolves, scoring once and assisting 4 times. Last season, he registered 10 points and 2 assists in this fixture. Palmer has never started Brighton at home in the Prem. However, he did play Brighton away in double game week 37 last season, getting 1 goal and 8 points. Finally, Bukayo Saka has 4 starts and only 1 assist against Leicester. Based on this, I'd say Salah has the most favoritism towards his Game Week 6 fixture, and after that, it's toss-up between Palmer and Haaland. Next, it's how the players have performed on their game day. First, it's Haaland. 13 starts in Saturday away matches, and he's returned 13 GA, which highlights his consistency. His average points per start ranks second best in this category, but it's only 0.06 better than Mo Salah's. His form is actually the worst, and he's got a pretty average blank rate with 31%. It seems that Saturday away matches aren't his favorite or preferred by Haaland. Apart from the 17-pointer against West Ham this season, Haaland hasn't returned a double-digit goal in any of his last 5 Saturday away games. Mo Salah has the second best form in the game time category, and an 8.6 average points per start is only bettered by Palmer, who's only played 5 games versus Salah's 49. Mo does have the worst blank rate out of all 4 on the shortlist. However, he's registered 3 double-digit goals in his last 5 starts. This suggests large potential for explosive points. Cole Palmer has the lowest amount of starts, which means his data is less trustworthy. However, it's only 1 blank in 5 from Cole in Saturday home matches, and he's averaging 9.4 points per start. His form of 13 points highlights how explosive he was in home Saturday games last season, with his last 3 games all being double-digit goals. Finally, Bukayo Saka has 21 GA in 27 home starts on Saturday, but his average points per start is the worst in this category. His whole rate is surprisingly high at 26, and that ranks first, but his blank rate is second worst, which suggests some inconsistency. Looking at the kickoff time data now, Haaland has started 4 times in 12:30 p.m. kickoffs away from home, and it's only 2 goals in those 4. His average points per start is the lowest out of all 4 players, and so is his form, blank rate, and whole rate. He's never held double digits in this kickoff time away from home. From 12 starts, Mo Salah returned 9 GA in 5:30 p.m. games away from home, which is average at best. His average points per start is the strongest at 6.7, and his form is second best behind Bukayo Saka. His blank rate is the second lowest at 33%, which isn't actually amazing, but compared to the rest of them, it's pretty good. Off face value, Palmer has excellent data, but he started only 2 home matches at 3 p.m. In both games, he smashed double-digit holes, 15 and 14 pointers, but these games were against promoted team opposition last season. Finally, Saka. He's got 10 GA in 14 starts at 3 p.m. at home, which is pretty decent. His average points per start is second behind Mo Salah, and 7.8 points is the best form out of all 4. His blank percentage is shockingly high at 42%, but it's actually better than Haaland's, suggesting that this actually could be a quite low scoring week for the premiums. Saka hasn't blanked any of his last 5 3 p.m. starts, which is very encouraging towards a Saka cap in Game Week 6. Let's find out what the rankings are. Now, before we get into the Game Week 6 Captain Rankings, you need to know that these rankings could change. Captaincy means we need to access and process the maximum amount of information so we can make the best, most informed decision. I post my Game Week 6 final rankings on all social platforms, so if they do change based on leaks, injuries, or press conference news, make sure you're following at least one to get the latest rankings before the final deadline. Link tree is in the video description. Now, I need to get back to wildcard tinkering, so let's not waste a single second. Third place goes to Erling Haaland with Cole Palmer in the wildcard spot, and let's start with Haaland. He's been electric, but his kickoff data is poor, and St. James's Park is one of the toughest away grounds in the league. I also think that Rodri's injury will have an impact on Haaland's game, especially because there's no De Bruyne to feed him. I doubt he will blank. I don't think he's going to blank, but my estimation is 1 return with potential for a max bonus of 3. That would put his points anywhere from 6 to 9. A brace is obviously 13 points, and that's actually what I think his ceiling is against Newcastle. But the midfielders I do think have bigger ceilings this week, like Palmer, Salah, and Saka. All I do believe have bigger ceilings than Haaland this week. And just quickly on Palmer, I think he's a special player, but I do rate Brighton somewhat defensively. Palmer's data just doesn't have enough sample size for me to say that he is the best captain. Just because he's returned 2 double-digit hauls from 2 of his 3 p.m. games at home, it doesn't mean that he's going to do that again. I need to see at least 10 games and, that kind of stats, those kind of signs for Palmer to be up there for captaincy. But my kickoff data just shows you that it is an explosive and preferred game time for him. And his data's great. Chelsea are in hot form right now. There's just a lot of risk for a blank. And I do think that out of all four, his X minutes are the toughest to predict. If you are looking to engage and take on more risk this week, then Palmer is a very good option because you can gain a lot if he does haul, and he has shown the signs of hauling explosively. And now into our best captain, which is Bukayo Saka, and that puts Mo Salah in second place. And it's not just the fixture which puts Bukayo first. His kickoff data is very balanced in all categories. Leicester are bottom two in terms of the four teams that we looked at from a defensive data perspective. And the fact that his whole rate is second best in at 26% in Saturday home games, it's just a very good sign for things to come. And the X minutes, look, it is a concern in my mind, but I do have faith that Saka can do enough damage in 75 to 85 minutes to warrant the top spot this game week. Salah is in second, and I like the Wolves fixture. I like the matchup, but I just feel as though there's a high probability for a clean sheet, and I just don't know which one of the attackers will dominate the bonus or one of the defenders will dominate the bonus, because it could be Jota, Diaz, Gakpo off the bench. But if you don't have Saka, I really would recommend putting my armband on Mo this weekend. He looks good for one return with decent potential for more. And that is a wrap on my Game Week 6 Best Captain video. I've got my Game Week 6 preview vid coming out really soon. I switched up the upload schedule around so that, the preview vid's coming tomorrow and this one's coming today, so that you get the latest Game Week 6 injury updates ahead of the Saturday deadline. Keep your eye out for that one. Peace.